Well, here we are. It is Friday, December 1st, 2023. Another year's almost over, and I hope you're all well. Hope you're getting your holiday Christmas shopping in order and all that. Uh, we've recovered from Thanksgiving. We had all kinds of great leftovers for a few days and turkey casseroles and all that comfort food you need in New England in the winter. Good. It's it's good. I guess we're getting a little snow maybe on Monday this week, start of next week. So anyway, it's right now, as a lot of you know, the auction market is a little bit quiet. And it always is at this time of the year. And every year I say it's going to be quiet, and it is, lo and behold. But one of the things you want to keep your eyes on is that sometimes there's some very good buys in the month of December in the auction market, because a lot of people aren't paying attention and there aren't that many auctions around, so there aren't that many people looking. It seems as though the more auctions there are in the market at any given time, the more people are looking. And when it quiets down, there are fewer people looking because there are fewer auctions. But the ones that are there, you can get some pretty good buys. And we're going to start talking today. There's a couple of good sales coming up. There's some good results I want to go through, but I want to talk a little bit. The Doyles had their sale this week, and they had some nice material, but the results were all over the place. And if you go to the site, you'll see what I mean. The things that didn't sell that you think would sell, and things that did sell maybe didn't bring a lot, and some of them brought more than you thought, as always. But don't be afraid to reach out to them and on lots that were passed, and talk to them and see if there isn't perhaps a deal to be made. Doyle's and many auction houses, they're more than happy to talk to you about selling stuff post-auction, and get a hold of Rick Cervantes there and see if maybe you'd be able to buy something. Because for some reason there were some pretty strange things that didn't sell, and I'm a little bit of a loss as to why. And some of the things that sold very reasonably. And one of the things that sold just fine, I'll start with this. This was a nice thing. It was a sort of a late 19th century Gouform vase in celadon with archaistic, molded body and so forth. I thought this was very attractive. It had the color of it was almost like Xingbai, the Sung glaze. It wasn't. It was a little bluer than that, but it wasn't quite blue de hue, as they call it, or clair de lune rather. But at any rate, it ended up selling for $1,100 plus the premium, so it finished up at around $1,410 or $20, which I think is reasonable. I thought the estimate was reasonable, and that seems like a perfectly fair price. The little Amari footed spice boxes, I noticed in the comments says one of you bought them. This was an absolute steal, but part of it I think it can be attributed to the fact that it's an odd time of the year to be running auctions, and prices tend to be a little soft. And also you run into the conundrum of trying to find a comparable to base a bid on. And this is when you've got to bid by your gut. This is when you've got to step up and say, I really like those. They're unusual. I'm going to take a shot at them. Because sometimes if there aren't comps, some extremely unusual and rare things can be bought for relatively little, because so many buyers are hung up on comps constantly. And when something really interesting and unusual comes along, they tend to get shy, they back off, they don't know. I think Rick's estimate was more than reasonable. And to me, if I'd seen these sell for $1,000 to $1,400 each, I wouldn't have been at all surprised. These were very nice, very unusual form, highly unusual forms. And somebody bought the pair. Look at that, $650 plus premium. So about $800 all in and done, or around $400 a piece for a highly unusual pair of spice containers with footed bases. Very, very unusual. And for an exercise, go out and try to find another pair of these, or find one in this form from the early 18th century. I don't think you're going to do it. And to the guy that bought them, bravo. That was a wonderful, smart thing to buy. Very good. And then they have these nice pair of Amari Kangxi period guglets. They dated them just as 18th century, but they looked Kangxi to me. They may be, they may be a little later, but I don't think so. They were estimated at $2,000 or $3,000, and the pair sold for $1,300 plus premium. So that it works out to about $800 a piece, all in and done. And that is very reasonable. We've in the past seen single vases of this type sell for, or juglets of this type sell for $1,100, $1,300 each. And this time around, somebody got a pair of them, for $1,300 plus premium, or around probably $1,600. So I think that was a very, very good buy also. And then these took off. These were the silk Kisi panels. Had a few people call about them, and they emailed me about them, and they were wondering if they would sell for the estimate. And I didn't notice them the first time I went through the listing, and I went back and looked at them, and I said, no, they're gonna bring at least 10,000. These are really nice, and they did. They brought even more than that. They brought 19,000 plus premium, so around $24,000. But beautiful Kisi work, early 19th century, and they looked like judging by the colors, they were in really good condition. I don't see any damage. I don't see anything wrong with them. And that's a great thing. And the detail work is quite excellent. Notice the facial features, the way the eyes are done, very detailed. I love the double gourd on the back of the walker here with his stick and so forth. 19,000 plus premium. There you go. So things like that can happen. But the textile market, as I've said many times, remains remarkably strong, because it's a very separate market from the in the Asian art world. For some reason, I think it has a lot of competition from many places around the world. A lot of people collect textiles. Textile crowd are very stubborn buyers, and I think that if you're seeing a little slowdown, a little quieter thing in the ceramics area and the bronze area and so forth, so far it hasn't happened in the textile market from what I can see. And these were really, really nice. All right, but I do think that we talked about it about 4 or 5 months ago, I thought that because of economic stuff, cycles and economies, you are going to see some softening in Chinese prices. So if you're collecting, great. If you're a dealer, sell what you've got now so you can buy inventory at a lower price later. But clear out your shelves for things that you've sort of paid on the upper end for, because I think you're going to have sort of a lull for a little while, because we're seeing it. It's pretty undisputable at this point. And it's great. If you're a collector, it's a wonderful time. Do some buying. And then there was the pair of Dewa Fu lines. I thought these were wonderful. A lot of work went into these, beautifully made. I had several inquiries about them after last week's video. I think they were just terrific, and they did very well in the end. They actually brought a little more than I thought they'd bring. I thought they'd bring around on the upper end of the estimate, maybe to 2,500, and they ended up going for 2,750 plus the premium, so about $3,400 for them. But they were big, 14 inches tall, very, very attractive, and in good condition. Late Qing, possibly early Republic, but it doesn't matter. They have good age to them. That's all that really counts. But there's so much work that goes into making a pair of these. When you look at this, is all hand modeled stuff that's applied onto the Fu line. Little tiny bits, little the way the mains are done. All this is all hand done, and of course the Dewa clay is so good at holding its form, holding its shape, not distorting in the kiln when it's fired. It sort of stays where you put it, and not all porcelains do that, but the Dewa clay does. So you can get these incredibly detailed sculptural objects out of porcelain, all crafted by hand. Very nice. And then the Ripon Boswell sale. That's it. That's the next thing I wanted to talk about. This was that auction that was taking place over in Germany, and these are Central Asian textiles. In Central Asia, and the tribes that wove these played a huge role in the silk routes and the China trade overland with the Mongol Empire and all this sort of thing. And if you don't know where Turkestan is, I grabbed a map on it today, and I'm going to show you where it is. Okay, China is over here, Nepal is down in here, Tajikistan, Pakistan is here, Afghanistan, all the stans, as I call them, and Turkmenistan is right there. It's right at the crossroads for the caravans that came down through this region and went in through Persia, which is now Iran, of course, and into the Middle East for trade in Turkey. This was the direct route, and so much of it went right through the Turkoman region, Turkmenistan and through Afghanistan. There were a couple of overland routes above, but most of them went right through this area, and they were a huge trading community in the Merv Oasis. And the Merv Oasis was extremely important historically. Alexander the Great went there and conquered it, and he actually renamed it Alexandria. There are many places around the Middle East that were named Alexandria after himself. It wasn't just the one city in Egypt you think of. There were several Alexandrias, and Merv, in its day, was the largest, most populated city in the world in the 13th and 14th century, with 500,000 people living there. It was a big trading center, and the Turkomans, the people that wove these magnificent bags, these tribal pieces went through there. And they were sheep herders in the area. There were different tribes. There were multiple tribes. There were the Yomut tribes, the Osari tribes, the Teki tribes, the Sarik tribes, and there were sub tribes. And they were all sort of working in that area. They were all had a very strong weaving history. And I happen to be a big fan of them, as many of you know. So I'm sort of going on about it. But these were some of the finest Turkoman examples around. Many of them had been published by authors like John Thompson owned a number of these pieces, and they were dispersed when he died. They were sold back in, I don't know, the 80s, the 90s, in the 90s, I guess. And but there were things like this. This is a camel trapping, and the quality of these is absolutely mind-boggling. How well they wove these on their little portable looms. And this was a saddlebag called an alsmulduk. And this was a very, very fine one, obviously, and in beautiful condition, made during the 1800s. And it ended up selling for, 18th century rather, not 1800s. I misspoke. 18th century. And sold for $34,000, $34,900 plus premium. So ended up going for about $45,000 all in. And this is not a big rug. This thing is 140 centimeters, so it's about 4 feet long, a little over 4 feet long, and about 2.5 feet tall. They're fairly small, but they're gems. Absolute gems. And this was another great one. This was the famous one that was on the on the cover of an Eberhard Harriman. He was a very famous German dealer, and every year he put out a book on the greatest Chinese rugs, Persian rugs, Caucasian rugs that he acquired during the year. He was a heavy hitter among the auction market. He was sort of a phenomenon. I met the man a few times, and a lot of people didn't like him. He could be a little abrupt, but I think he was always done with a twinkle in his eye. And he ran an unbelievable gallery. And this was one of the most famous pieces that he used on the cover of one of his annual books. This spectacular amalduck with a camel train at the top, and all of these sort of geometrical symbols running through it on white sort of an ivory wool. And then all the hand-done natural dyes, beautifully woven, and this did very well. It sold for $109,000 plus premium, so about $135,000 for it. And as I said, it only measures around. This measures about 4.5 feet in diameter, to give you an idea how small it is. But it's one of the finest osmolics in the world. One of the finest osmolics in the world. And then there was this, Salor trapping. Again, the Salor tribes were another, Salor, textiles, carpets, bag faces, as they're often referred to, or chevals, or there's a variety of different names based on the sizes. This is, again, one of the famous ones that's been published many, many, many times. Spectacularly well woven, probably done as a dowry piece from the daughter of a wealthy chieftain to her husband-to-be, in which case they would preserve it. This would not be used as a camel bag and given a back so they could store things in it. This was like a part of a dowry piece. Not that they might have used it, but they didn't use it much, because this thing was done during the 18th century. Absolutely wonderful. $43,000 plus premium, so around $58,000 for that piece, and it measures around 5 feet in length and about 1.5 feet wide, 2 feet wide rather. And then there was this, a Yomut gull carpet, multi-gull carpet. If those of you who don't know, a gull are these symbols in here. All right, these floating emblems that they used that were very geometric, they referred to them as gulls, and then it had this leaf and zigzag border going around it, and all these plants at the top, woven on this very beautiful warm brown wool. And as I've said before, they wove dark colors typically on most of their rugs because at night when they went into their yurts, which is what they lived in. They were nomads. They wanted dark spaces to relax their eyes because they were out in the bright sun sometimes at high altitudes all day long. And it was so to get your eyes back to normal. And they also provided a great deal of comfort. And this is a very fine carpet. This is a great carpet. Measures about 9 feet long. Absolutely stunning quality. Visually, the graphics on it are amazing. Again, 18th century or early 19th century, sold for $130,000 plus premium. So again, you're up around $180,000 for the carpet. And then the last one is this one, another Salor Chewal, again, $45,000, and it has this magenta in here, and that may have some silk in it, but very precisely woven. And one of the most amazing things about this is these were woven often on sort of portable looms, and they were done from memory. They didn't have drawings that they went by. They just knew where to repeat the patterns, and they did it with such incredible precision. It was just a marvel of the weaver's art, as they say. And again, each tribe had their own symbols, whether the Salors, the Shariks, the Yomuts, the Asaris, all the different tribes had their own symbols. And when they intermarried, they also when the bride would marry into another tribe, she would weave going forward, sometimes including symbols from her own family's tribe, if she came from a different one, and her new family's tribe, their symbols and the way they displayed things. So there was a lot of cross influences between different groups due to marriage. But anyway, that's where it all came from, that part of the world, and it played a major role in the history of China, the Asiatic nomadic tribes, and it's part and parcel of all of this that we're so interested in. But I thought I would just share that because I think it's great stuff, and it's a personal thing for me. I just love this stuff. Now, coming up, there's a couple of sales coming up. We're going to talk about Rob Michaels has a sale coming up in, let's see, when is this sale? It's on the 14th of December. It's in a couple of weeks. You have plenty of time. And you have things like this Samantha Bardara Buddhist figure. It's part of the Bodhisattva triad, one of the figures for meditation and so forth. Very nice textile. And it's not heavily estimated, but I think it's quite a lovely thing. And if you're buying, from a distance, this is the kind of thing you can get. Probably, I suspect it'll be rolled. You can roll it up because it's still on it still has scroll mounts, so the shipping shouldn't be a big deal on it. And they can arrange for that. So, because I know some of you have shipped from the Netherlands before and have not been very happy with the shipping rates out of there because the cost of doing business in that part of the world is pretty high. But this is a nice looking silk, probably 18th or 19th century. I don't know how they dated it. They dated it 17th or 18th. Okay, well, they looked at it in person, so we'll go with that. To me, it looks 18th, but possibly even early 19th, but it's awfully nice looking. And the colors may be stronger in person because here it's a little bit, it looks a little washed out from the lighting, perhaps. But it's an awfully nice thing. And it's estimated at 1,000 to 2,000 euros, which is very, very reasonable. I have to think it'll bring more than that. I would think 3,000 to 5,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 be more realistic. And he's also got a lot of enamelwares. If you're a Beijing enamel or Canton enamel buyer, check the sale out. There's a ton of it in here. This was one that caught my eye. It's particularly nice. It's a late Qianlong to Jiajing period dish. Very nicely done with an unusual landscape border going around the outside, two very strongly decorated figures in the middle, and then, of course, just the regular blue enamel back on it with a couple of little feet on it. But a very nice plate. I think it's about 8 inches in diameter, roughly 9 inches in diameter. estimated at 1,000 to 2,000 euros, with just an 800 euro opening bid, which is pretty reasonable for a really nice piece of Beijing enamel. And that one doesn't seem to have any damage. It looks like it's in very nice condition. The other thing that's in the sale is this: a pair of these sort of flambe blue glazed relief work and gilt vases. These turn up in the market. We've seen them before. We've talked about them before, and they were sort of produced in the late Qing to Republic period. They're awfully attractive, though. They have a lot of visual appeal to them, and you didn't really see them in the 18th century and that kind of thing done in this manner. But they're awfully good looking. And these are, again, about 9 inches in height. They have a 1,200 to 1,800 euro estimate, which seems pretty reasonable because you figure one of them is probably worth $900 to $1,000. So I think he's right in there. And it has dragons on the front of it. The dragon decoration is pretty nice on them. The glaze, it looks good. There are the dragons. There you go. And they're molded on, of course. And the handles and the flower on the front. That's sort of unusual, the little treatment of the flower on the front. You don't see that very often. And take a shot at those if you like. And then over here to this. These are really nice Manserina trembleurs. People hold them trembling, holding the cup. And these are nice. 18th century, probably early Qianlong period. But very, very fine quality export wares with these open work bodies on them and the little points, and they look like they're in good shape. I've seen these before, and it always seems the cups are damaged. And I don't think the cups are damaged with these. They look pretty good. And the bowls look good, the saucers, and these are sort of scallop shell shaped saucers. There they are. And they're hollowed out inside to hold the cup in place, so it's being served with, so forth. And there's the bottom of, there's some writing on here. What's the writing say? Here we go. Shell tray and pierced cup. 5 pounds or five something each. But it's obviously from a long time ago, so don't you wish? At any rate, today they're estimated at $1,500 to $2,500. But these are rare. This is a rare form, beautifully done, lovely pink on those cups, very delicately made, very difficult to make, and it's a pair. Always take that into account when you have a pair of anything. It's a premium item because there's 2 of them, and very often people will buy one thinking they can find another one to make a pair, and they wait years to make that pair if they ever do it all. All right, and then over to this, the Cornelis Pronk dishes. These are spaniel and parrot cups, or saucers rather. And there's the little spaniel down below below the perch of the parrot who's squawking at him and he's barking at him. Very classic stuff from the Pronk school. He did a lot of these sort of familiar European scenes when he designed things to send to China to be painted. Because he only did it for a short time. It was only for a year or two that he was working on these because they ordering custom designs by him and sending it to China and getting them back was so expensive they just didn't continue it. But these are really, really nice, and it's a pair of them, estimated at 1,000 to 2,000 euros. And I can tell you that 20 years ago, a pair of plates like this would have probably been $5,000 to $7,000 pretty easily. The price of these rare export pieces has really come down. And if you collect export wares, buy them because the price won't stay there forever. When the time comes, and I'm gonna sort of get into this. I've already started it, and we're gonna do some videos about furniture and other stuff other than I've talked about it before, but I haven't had the time. But now I do to talk about the furniture market and the export market and how it's just so deeply interlinked. Because at some point, American furniture, English furniture, European furniture from the 18th and 19th centuries in particular are going to come back into fashion again because fashion's cyclical and they always comes around. And when they do, the price of export wares are going to skyrocket quite a bit. You won't be able to buy them anymore. For one reason, they are the appropriate accessories for all these objects. They are tied to the period. They were part of the environment, the art environment of those eras was export wares. And when people buy very fine English furniture, very fine early American furniture, they want the porcelains and the objects that went around them. And Chinese porcelain was a big part of it. If any of you happen to see, I'm going to have now this isn't a rant, I'm just going to talk a minute. If you go back and look at the the Irving collection that just sold or is being sold at Sotheby or Christie's. Um, Joyce Irving, and what was her husband's name? Well, Irving, no, excuse me, Joyce and Irving Wolfe, not the Irving family, the Wolfe, the Irvings are the other Chinese collection. Bernard Irving Wolfe and Joyce Wolfe had an amazing art collection of all kinds. They collected very, very rare early American furniture, which they were very famous for. They collected very fine American paintings, European paintings, Paul Manship bronzes, all kinds of stuff. Great things. But they also collected great Chinese porcelain and great export wares. And if you've seen that auction, you'll know that there's a bunch of pieces in there that come out of in that auction that came from their collection. They had superb stuff. They lived in New York. They were originally, I think, from Texas or someplace, and they ended up moving to New York, and they became avid art collectors over the years. They donated material to the Met. I think they paid for a room there or a wing there as a gift. At any rate, they paid an arm and a leg for that Chinese export wares. And when it came up, I saw the pieces. They're absolutely amazing. And at the time they were buying, the price was probably double or triple what it is now. So if you're serious about buying export wares, don't miss these chances. These are real opportunities to buy. And if you can buy a pair of prunk dishes like this for under 2,000 euros, it's a great thing. That's all I'm going to say. All right, and then on to this. This very nice silvered bronze. It looks so they just say silvered mounts. I assume it's probably bronze. Dulci enameled footed covered pot, and I love the little. Get this thing. Hold on a minute. This I love the silvered. It's either silvered, maybe silvered copper or silvered. I don't think it's bronze. It's a little thin up there. This could be bronze around here. But up top, it looks like maybe silvered copper or silvered some other metal with these little coral beads coming out of it that have been added. And then you have these nice handles with the shells on them, and beautifully done. Dulci with that brightish sort of orangey red color. Very attractive. Estimated at 2,000 to 4,000 euros with a 1,600 euro opening bid. Very rare thing. Beautifully done with mounts. And it measures about 8 inches in diameter. If you're into that stuff, that's something worth chasing. And then there's this, again, another unusual thing. That if you collect Kangxi wares, a reticulated Kangxi bowl with this lotus leaf pattern in the middle on top of it. And you see this lotus leaf pattern often on Kangxi bowls and platters and whatnot, but inside a reticulated border, it makes it quite unusual. Very, very attractive. Really is. Excuse me. There. All right, now, let's see here. Oh, the box, Kangxi box, small box, about 4 inches in diameter, but very, very fine quality. Nice decoration all the way over. Looks to be in good shape. Got an estimate of 600 to 1,200 euros, 500 euro opening bid. That seems like sort of a no-brainer. And then over here to this, a pair of VOC ships from the Dutch, the Dutch East India Company. Kangxi period. It's a pair. These are in Howard's book. Very, very rare. Very, very rare. And they have the running sort of ho-ho boys going around the border, which I think is great. And then you have the ships under full sail in the center, estimated at 3,000 to 6,000 euros. These are rare. Okay, these are really, really rare. There was a pair of them that sold at Christie's. Here it is in 2019, just a couple of years ago. And they there was a similar example, and they have a link to it. One of these sold for $3,700 just a couple of years ago. So that price is probably just still about right. So the estimate here is not out of line at all. And then he's got stuff like this. He's got this. This is one lot. This is not a selection. According to the listing, this is one lot. For 1,000 to 2,000 euros. So if you're a dealer in the area, this is a real opportunity to go in there and try to buy this lot, even if it goes over the estimate, because the big problem with anybody buying this from in America or someplace else is getting it shipped. the shipping is going to be, shipping will be several $1,000s to get this sent across the ocean, maybe 3 or 4,000 actually, to get it all wrapped and insured properly. But if you're in the area and you're a dealer and you can drive over in a car, you are at a giant advantage in acquiring lots like this. And he has a number of big lots in this sale. And if you're a dealer, go in and stock up for the winter if you can, because I think these are going to present an opportunity. I would expect this lot to bring 4,000 to 6,000 and still have some profit left in it, but it may go for the estimate. And I suspect some of the pieces have condition issues. You want to check into it, but they're all 18th century judging by the photo. And he's got them dated as Yongchen to Qianlong. I see a couple that look like they might be Kangxi. So nice going. And then he's got these things like this on the sale. A nice. He's got a Japanese Takuri in this Tengen style circular bottle with the elongated neck on it. Very folky and funky. It's stamped on the foot rim by the potter. 8 to 1,200 euro estimate. And then this is more Japanese stuff. A couple of really unusual things. Double-walled reticulated pair of Amari vases from the 18th and 19th century in this very attractive plate. The jars are about 8 inches tall, 9 inches tall. Estimated the whole lot 400 to 800 euros. And then lastly, I just wanted to sort of scroll through and show you these are some of the other large lots in this sale. Here's a whole bunch of Batavia ware. Here's this and this. There's enough large lots here that if you can drive to this auction, bring some boxes and go to it because there's a lot of big lots. And I don't think they're going to get hit too hard. They usually don't. And the other thing I wanted to mention, too, is if you're a dealer or you're a collector and you've been looking for it, I think it's on over in here. Let me see if I can find it there. There's a whole bunch there's 4 lots or so with stands. And stands are hard to come by sometimes. And there's a bunch of nice looking stands in here, just for displaying objects. But if you have a shop or a store somewhere and you're looking for stands, well, there you go. Here's a supply of them. And if you buy them at the right price, you can include them when you sell things. And most of these stands look like they're probably late 19th, early 20th century. But they're all nicely done. There's nothing wrong with them. And 18th century stands of any quality are worth a lot of money today. But most of these look later, but very well done, beautifully done. It looks like there's dozens of them in there. And that's something worth going after. Especially if you're a dealer and so on. And then there's some lacquerware. There's some other nice pieces in here. It's a good looking sale. All right. And that's about that. Now, over auctions here, I noticed this has been on the global member pages. The Rob Michael sales is on the Invaluable page, linked off of it right now. Those of you who get it are Patreon subscribers. You can get right to it. One of these lacquer guts wire and a cup and saucer with mother of pearl inlays. This is coming up at Tremont in just a couple of days. Nice piece of lacquer gut. And with it's the cup and the saucer, and you never get the two of them together. You always see the cup but no saucer. Here you have them both in the tray rather, tray and saucer. And the tray looks like it's in quite good condition from what I'm seeing. The colors all still look good. It's looks 18th century. The cup looks like it's in good shape. So it's a nice lot. This is a good lot. And the estimate's very reasonable, $200 to $300. Expected to bring 800 to 1,000, but it may go for that. You never know. This is Tremont, and the sale is on Sunday. So you still have time to register on Live Auctioneers, and I suspect Invaluable. I didn't check Invaluable, but I know they're registered on Live Auctioneers to sell. And then there's another Lacrogat case. This is in Westport, the Westport Auction Company in Norwalk, Connecticut. And this sale is on the 5th of December. This is really unusual, and it's not in perfect shape. There's some losses to it. But a stacking Lacrogat box, probably 18th century, very unusual. Really, really unusual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections plus the top. That's a very unusual item, even with the losses. Very, very striking, very unusual, about 9 inches tall, Here's some gentlemen at the top. Looks like they're sitting around. What are they? They're just sitting around a table. I was wondering if they're playing Go. Don't see the game on the table there. But this nice looking within a balustraded garden and so forth, sitting on top like they're on a mountain, a private mountaintop garden, willow trees above them and all that good stuff. And the estimate is $50 to $1,000. That's just sort of a generic estimate. The starting price is $50. All right. It's if you end up paying 800 or 1,000 for it, you're fine, because it's an interesting artifact and an unusual form. You don't see these very often. It looks to be either a late 18th or early 19th century example. All right, and then over here, what's been going on eBay? They had some pretty good prices this week for the things that were there. One of them was this pear-shaped bottle we talked about. I thought $800 to $1,200. Somebody disagreed with me. A few people disagreed, and it went for $1,962. It was a 19th century base, but very attractively done. Very, very attractive. Very nice details. Very nice banding of decoration. Nice Buddhist tassels hanging down with double gourds and scholars' objects and all that. And how big was this vase? 25 centimeters in height, so around about 9 or 10 inches. Not a huge bottle. And it went for $1,962 US. And then this very nice piece of Canton enamel. There were 3 or 4 of these on the site. It looks to be a 19th century one. They said 18th or 19th. They're hard to date. But anyway, this one did well. It brought $322. But again, if you're looking at the Rob Michael sale, check out some of this, because there's a lot of enamels in there. They'll give you some idea what they sell for. Just a simple cup like this one for $322. All right, and plates and bowls and things that are more involved, of course, are more money, and especially when they're older. All right, and this was a very good buy for the week, very reasonable. This was a leaf form, Yixing lined a pewter teapot with jade handles. And typically, in other times of the year, earlier this year, we saw some similar to these come up, and I think they brought around $1,500, $1,600, and this one went for $539. And I think you can owe that to the time of the year. I think has something to do with it. It may the market for them might have quieted down a little, but I don't think it's quieted down that much. Again, December bargains. All right, and then over to this was this sort of interesting hand-carved Kuan Yin wood sculptured figure. I couldn't figure out what kind of wood this is. I think it's just some sort of rosewood that they stained dark. It looks to be a 19th century example, but it was kind of dramatic looking. It was on the newsletter page. Initially, I thought it was bone, but it's not. It's actually wood. At first, I thought it was like some sort of horn carving. But the face was nicely done and ended up selling for $1,038. Nice looking. And then the Junyao bowl that had gotten the later 19th century, early 20th century European mounts on it. There it is. Great looking thing. This is a classical urn with the urn made up of a piece of junware. And it's ended up it did fine, but I don't think it was a crazy price given how interesting this is at $1,324. And it was decent size. Let me see. Let's see. Came from the Waterman Estate. There was a dimension on here. I remember reading it before. Thought I did. Or was this the one that we couldn't find the dimensions on it because they didn't bother putting them in, or is it on a ruler in the picture? If you do listings on eBay, for God's sakes, be sure to include the dimensions. I don't think he did, but at any rate, judging by the looks of it, it looks like it was probably about a foot tall. At any rate, but don't be lazy when you do your listings. Go do as much as you can to inform the buyer. All right, because it shows a dollar bill at the bottom. All right, that's just lazy. All right. Anyway, here we go. And then there was this very nice Meiji Maki Mother of Pearl box we talked about. I thought it was a very nice box, and it did fine. The Japanese lacquerware, of course, is softer than it was, a few years ago. They've come way down in price. You can buy great Japanese lacquer now for about 10 or 15, 20 cents on the dollar compared to the 1990s. And this wonderful box ended up selling for $449. But a good looking box, nice box. And then there was this gold and copper inlay Koro by Kuchidi, Ito Kuchidi. And it did very well. It brought $1,797. I love the sort of little fox or raccoon on the front of it. I thought this was very, very nice. And this is being sold by one of our regulars who goes out getting things. He had the the lacquer box. He gets good things. And so there you have a good result on a Japanese piece, but unusual and very attractive. I like the metalwork around the top a lot too. All right, and now other things from Japan, again, still are bargains. And here you have a very nice 18th, early 19th century blue and white Arita plate, $69 plus shipping out of England. And then there was this one, which I actually kind of like a little better than that one. It only went for $39. And these are not huge plates. These are like 8 inches or so. Again, where the dimensions should be in big, bold print and easy to read here. I'm just trying to find it. It's probably 7 or 8 inches in diameter. Again, lazy seller didn't bother with the dimensions. All right. At any rate, it's silly. Put the dimensions in. I don't know what it's so hard. I know everybody knows how to measure things, but you've got to put dimensions in. You go to all this trouble to sell stuff on the internet, put things on eBay, put them anywhere, and then you just sort of blow it at the end by not doing everything you can to make it easy for the customer. I think it's crazy, and you're sort of wasting your time if you want to be a dealer. We used to take things down. If we forgot to put the dimensions in something for some reason, because we were selling a lot of things on eBay at one point, and if we didn't put the dimensions in, we'd pull the listing and put it back up next week with the dimensions and all the information if for some reason we forgot. That's how important we thought it was. All right, now over to this, the part of a Kisikusu robe with a little bit of a rank badge at the top. Nice looking silkwork, late Qing. Early Republic probably, but definitely old. Nice looking vest. Ended up selling for $2,200. Again, Chinese silks, they're doing just fine. And then over here to this, somebody bought this, and I hope one of you bought it. This was the Karancha plate. We talked about it last week. I thought it was really nice. Somebody apparently made an offer because there's a line through that's what that means, incidentally. If you see something sold, there's a line through it. And it says best offer accepted or best offer. That just means that if they didn't get the $250, they might have taken $200 for it or $175 and that kind of thing. If one of you bought it, but let me know in the comments how much you ended up paying. It's always good to have an idea roughly what what sellers are willing to take off. I generally think they'll take off 20% right off the bat if you come up with serious interest. But anyway, that was a nice piece of porcelain, very attractive. Now coming up this week, there's a bunch of things though we did dig out. One of them is one of the little trick cups from the Tongxi period with this gentleman in the middle. It's a pretty good example. It's not extremely fine. The details of the figure isn't great, but the details of the cup are quite good, which is sort of curious. The cup is nicely decorated, and the figure's fine. I shouldn't have said that probably, but the figure's not of the same quality as the decoration on the cup for some reason. It's already up to it's got 6 bids. It's up to $234. Closes on Sunday. It's a nice cup, though. If you've been looking for a trick cup, it's a good one overall. And then this seems to me to be the one that was up before with some of you may remember, it has the coronet finial on top, and it went very reasonably. It's a couple of $100. Apparently, whoever bought it didn't pay for it. And Stanmore House had to put it up again. I don't understand why people keep doing that. It's just stupid. This is a nice thing. It ends on Monday, and to me this should bring $400 or $500, $600. It's a nice thing, and it's got a very unusual finial top on it. It's very good quality, mid 18th century or 1780 up to maybe as late as there, but it's a good piece. It's a nice thing. And I don't know what that is from. There we go. This is one of the more interesting things. Rose medallion and rose mandarin and this is rose canton. Porcelains from the mid-19th century are pretty common, but this struck me as interesting. Take a good look at this. It's a butterfly pattern. Huge butterfly in the center of the plate, very nicely detailed. There he is. There's his head. There's the body and all this, and then inside the wings, they filled it in with flowers and birds. For some reason, he took the pictures upside down. I'm not sure why he did that, but he did. You notice where the rocks are up top, the birds are upside down. It should be this should be looked at from the other way, like the butterflies coming towards you, I think. But at any rate, it's a very nice thing on a gold ground. This is a nice, unusual. If you collect unusual 19th century porcelains of rose medallion, rose mandarin, rose canton, all that school of stuff, this is an unusual one. It's a very unusual pattern. Right now, it ends on Tuesday. It's up to $32. Expect it to bring 200 or 300, maybe 4, just because it's a very unusual type. All right, the artist, and I suspect this came out of a big dinner service of in this pattern, sort of a custom dinner service. The back of it, there's the foot rim, the back, very typical of 1850 to 1870 porcelains. Rather nice. All right. And then last is this little twin-handled mid 18th century or 1780s Famille Rose export Potton cover with this under tray. So it's a very pretty example, and it looks like it's a nice condition, nice quality enameling and so forth. And you'll notice this is the kind of thing that Samson made lots of copies of. This is not a Samson copy. This is a Chinese example, pretty clearly, but very, very attractive. These were very popular in Europe. In particular, you find these in the French market and in the English market. And then later, a lot of English and French ceramicists replicated a very similar material to this. This thing ends in 3 days. It's got one bid at $9, which seems ridiculous to me. It's being sold by a seller in Florida. Very nice object, so do check that out. And that about covers it for the week. All right. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet so far, please do. Please do. And those of you that have joined over on Patreon or are members of the global member pages, as always, thank you. We put up a bunch of content over there this week for you guys. The things I came across, I found a couple of catalogs and books and things I thought were great, and some images and whatnot. And we did work out the link thing with the subscriptions for the Antiques Gazette, that you can now get for free over on the Patreon subscriber side. So that's cool. That's fun. Well, I know a lot of you are using it because I saw the traffic. You're all downloading the information. So good. All right. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Working on some other videos, and get ready for Christmas. All right. Bye-bye.